Yeah, morning, Trace. Slightly tighter financial conditions playing across markets as we look ahead at this all-important US CPI print in the session ahead. Now, in terms of news to be across, in the UK, we saw the jobs report. The unemployment rate ticked up a little bit higher, showing some very modest slack coming back into the economy. We've seen that implied probability of a rate hike for the next Bank of England meeting on the 21st, pulling back to about 77% or 19 basis points of tights. Looking at that sort of wage data as well, though, one suspects that the economists out there would be firmly in the camp that we're going to get a 25 basis point hike playing through. We did see cable trade down to 124.60 on the back of that, but it's sort of come back a little bit now as we're seeing a few sellers of dollars into this late part of the session, and we're just looking at that 125 handle at the moment. In Germany, we've seen the ZEW confidence numbers coming out, the expectations component coming out at negative 11.4, which was slightly better, and then the current situation subcomponent negative 79.4, which was slightly worse than expected. In the US, we've seen a $35 billion 10-year reopening playing through, where the demand was pretty good. It was okay. The whole bond auction went away fairly well. And then the NFIB small business confidence numbers coming out at 91.3, which was slightly worse than expected and well below that sort of long-term average that we've been seeing. Now, in terms of market reaction, we talked about the reaction in cable, but we have seen UK rates go bid. We've seen gilts across the curve finding good buys, sort of 5 to 6 basis points lower. And we've seen spreads relative to US Treasuries coming in. We've got that 2-year spread against US Treasuries down 7 basis points and looking like it wants to go negative. And that may weigh on cable going forward. Sterling CAD also getting a good bit of attention from clients, and that looks like it's pretty heavy at the moment. In US Treasuries, well, we've seen 2-year Treasuries at the very front end moving 3 basis points higher. We're moving a little bit, a few sellers playing through, but the rest of the curve hasn't really seen too much playing through. Now, I think it's interesting if you go into inflation swaps, 1-year inflation swaps moving up 5 basis points into 265. That is trending higher, and I think that's not probably a good thing to see. But obviously what we've been seeing there is these higher moves that we've been seeing in crude. We saw front month crude trading into 89.37. We're just settling at 88.81 at the moment, up 1.8%. But obviously these numbers that we've been seeing from OPEC, that demand could exceed consumption by about 3 million barrels going forward, just hitting that sort of momentum trade playing through. And we've got Brent nicely at about sort of 92 handle as well. We've seen gold down a touch on the session as well as the dollar has generally been stronger, although as towards the back end of the session we have seen headlines that the ECB may look to upgrade its inflation forecast quite dramatically, and that's caused euro dollar to push a little bit higher and a few dollar sellers to play through. The Nasdaq closed down 1.1% in equity markets. Apple's obviously been the very big focus there. We did see Apple close down 1.8% in the cash markets. It's flat after hours, obviously all focus on its big event where they've unleashed the iPhone 15. It looks pretty good. Obviously it's going to have a few critiques, but in terms of the spec upgrade, it certainly does seem a bit more punchy from 14 to 15 from what we saw from the iPhone 13 to iPhone 14 playing through. So, the market hasn't been overly infused by what they've been seeing, but obviously had a long time to speculate on that one as well. The S&P closed up 0.6%. We've seen 41% of stocks close higher on the day. Energy's been the big performer. They're up 2.3%, and financials have done okay as well, but certainly discretionary. And tech weighing on the market now. We're going to see Asia open on a fairly flat note as we look ahead at that US CPI number. That's going to be the big one in the session ahead.